How's it going, guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about whether or not flipping is dead due to the new tax and what the changes are if it's not dead. I've been getting this question more times than I can count, so I think it's finally time to make a video about this. Also, to go along with this video, I'm going to be doing a giveaway in our Discord. We're doing a lot of giveaways all month long, so if you'd like to join in those giveaways, you can just join our Discord server down below and look at the announcements and then join there. All you gotta do is like, subscribe, and for today's giveaway on this video, just type in what your opinion about flipping with a new tax is. Let's go ahead and jump on into it because there's a bunch of things I want to cover, but I'm going to show you all the changes and what it looks like. So for the first thing, I just want to be real clear, it is not dead. It is nowhere near dead. It is definitely changed, and there are many aspects of flipping that have changed, and there are some aspects of flipping that have gotten harder. There's some aspects of flipping that have gotten better. Let's go ahead and jump in and start covering some things. So the first thing that I want to cover on this is what is the main difference? So the main difference is going to be the margins. The margins are dramatically different than what they used to be. So if you are used to getting, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million on one item, that margin now might be something like 7, 8, 9 million. And the reason why is the exact same thing as what happened into old school Runescape when there was a tax update. And that is that the margin just got a lot bigger because of two main things. Number one, there's a tax. So obviously there's a tax, and that tax makes it so that people do need to be buying and selling things at a much larger margin to make profit on top of that tax. So that is probably the main reason why the margins have increased dramatically. The other change is that there's quite a bit less people that are flipping now, and due to that, and that's mainly because they just don't know if flipping is still good or flipping is obviously a lot harder. So that is a couple reasons why they're not doing it. But with them not doing it, that does open up the margins. As in general with flipping, anything that is flipped less often, things that are bought and sold less often, they have larger margins. So that is the main reasons for the larger margin. So let's move into the into this. This is very, very, very important. This is actually one of the main reasons why people are having a lot of trouble with flipping, and that is doing price checking. So looking right here at this Masterwork Spear of Annihilation, you can see that I did buy this one for 341.5, and then I am going to be trying to sell it for just under 357. So as you can see, that is a pretty big margin on it, just like we just talked about margins. And right here, this is how much you'll be getting after the 2% tax. So this right here is the total amount you're going to be selling for. This is your 2% tax. So if we saw 341.5, this is what we're actually going to be getting after we sell. So we're not getting the margin of 341.5 to 357 anymore. We're now going to get 341.5 to 349.85, whatever. That is just an example for this thing right here. Also, Masterwork Spear of Annihilation, the margin has been all over the place. Some days Masterwork Spear has had like 30 million margins, which is pretty fantastic. Even after the 2% tax, that is a massive amount of profit. So as you can see, it is still very good to flip. The main issue people are having when it comes to flipping right now is price checking, because most people, when they're going to start to flip, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to price check something because they need to find out what the prices are. Previously, we had a really great strategy for that, and that was simply to do something like this. I'll actually just do this live for you guys. If I go in here and I type in a, let's do an obliteration. So an obliteration, 35 million, I'm going to instantly buy it. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So I instantly bought it for 44,990. So 44,990, okay. Now, the strategy that we were following previously to make it so that you could very easily price check something without losing money was then I would just take this and put it for 44,990. And then there you go. I would sell this back off, and then I would use the average margin to find out what I should be buying the next one at. You can probably already see the issue now is right here, 44,090. So about 44.1 million is what I get after tax. So if I use that previous strategy of instantly buying something and then selling it back, I am going to make a loss, a 2% loss to be exact. So on smaller items, an obliteration at 45 million or whatever, 44 million is basically considered to be a smaller item. The loss is not that dramatic. It is going to be something like this. It's less than $1 million lost. But if you're doing this with much larger items, it does become a much larger issue. And I will definitely cover what you can do to avoid that. But this right here is something you need to keep in mind now, is that you will be losing a little bit of money. You can still make plenty of money by doing this. As you can see right here, there's a buy limit of 2 per 4 hours. So what I would do now, if you are forced to do the instant buy method to find out what the price is currently selling at, you can still do the previous method of then offering at below the average margin, but you're going to have to take a loss on that first one. Now the next one that you buy, let's say the next one that you buy, I'm going to go put this back in. Let's say you are then going to go for obliteration. Oh wow, I cannot spell obliteration apparently. Obliteration. And we go for obliteration. Let's say the next one we're going to try to buy is going to be like 38 million, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and put in an offer to buy one at 38 million. Now, on my next one, I can then buy it for, let's say it does buy for 38 mil, which I think is actually a pretty realistic margin for this right now. Maybe you might need to buy this for a little bit higher, but this is just an example. Then if I was to sell my next one that I got right here, and I sold the next one for this price too, even after the loss, I would still get 44, which means I'd make 6 million on my second flip and I would lose 900K on my price check. That means that overall, I would be making something around 5.1 million in total from flipping obliteration. So that is something you can do now that is very similar to the way that we used to price checks previously. Another way to make this much better and to really make it so that that price check loss is not as relevant is to use multiple accounts. Multiple accounts was definitely something that was very important to do previously in regular flipping, just because more accounts equals more buy limits. In obliteration's sake, or like for obliteration, for example, you can do 2 per account per 4 hours. So if I was flipping with 4 accounts, that means I could buy a total of 8 obliterations and then make 6 million 8 times, which is definitely really good. Now, that is a great way to kind of negate that tax loss and then makes it so you have a lot more profit. So I would highly recommend that if you are going to be getting serious in the flipping, that you do consider using more than one account now, because it's more important than ever, because that way you can just make it so that first hit you take from price checking is not that big of a deal. The next thing is something that's not great. This is definitely one of the things that have gotten worse with flipping, and that is that if an item is currently falling in price, then you are going to lose more money than you did previously. Let's say this Masterwork Spear of Annihilation, I bought it, and then after I bought it, it started going down in price. Pretty much anyone who's been flipping for any amount of time knows that at some point you're going to lose money on something, because that's just, it's part of the risk. Most flips you're going to do well on, but there will be some of them that you lose money on, and that's just something you have to accept and just kind of ignore it. If we look at this right here, if this item started dropping and dropping and dropping, let's say it went below the 341.5 that I that I bought it for. So if I do that, I'm just gonna show you what this looks like. If I tried selling it back, so for like 340 mil, okay? So if I bought it for 341.5, I'm like, uh-oh, it's going down a little bit. I'm gonna get rid of it for 340. As you can see right here, you are gonna take that 2% loss. So that means I'm only gonna get 333.2 back. So on this item, for example, if I bought that for 341.5, I'm gonna take quite a bit more loss than what I would if previously, like in old school flipping, I guess we can call it that now, in OG flipping, I would just get 340 mil back and only be at a 1.5 mil loss and be like, it's whatever. But now you're looking at losing quite a bit more than that. That's not something that should scare you away from flipping. That's just something that you need to understand is just part of the flipping game now, of if an item starts to drop, then you are going to be facing more losses. So when taking those riskier moves on items that are, more risky, just keep that into mind and maybe not invest as heavily into those, and don't buy into things that you're not really willing to take that loss on. Okay, this is something that not everyone will be facing, but it's important to know. There are ways to completely avoid tax, and you can find this actually by looking at just the little info thing right here. If you click on this, I actually hover over it. Yeah, if you hover over it or click it, doesn't matter. It says 2% on anything that is sold for 50 gold or more is where it is applied to. So if you like to completely avoid tax and have no risk at all with tax, then you can sell things that are under 50 gold. So that means you can flip things that don't cost as much. A great example of that is going to be something like an air rune. An air rune is only 28 gold. You can even jack that number all the way up to 49 gold, and you'll still have no tax on it. With a buy limit of 25,000, it does make these things like a viable option. If you were to make like 2 gold each on your flip, then you could flip this stack for 50,000 profit, which is great for someone who is starting to learn how to flip or just wants to avoid all taxes in general. So that is something just to keep in mind, that you will not be risking any taxes or anything like that if you're flipping things that are smaller. And there we go. Our obliteration actually did buy while making this video. I wasn't actually sure if it was going to buy for that, but that is kind of the margins we've been seeing right now. So as you can see, literally proof in this video, flipping does definitely still work. You just need to be very careful with the things that I mentioned. Also use the strategies that I showed. I'm going to go ahead and close this video off with just a couple more tips on how you can really optimize how much you're earning. But right as you can see, this was a 45 mil instant buy, and we just bought this for 38 million. That is a 7 million margin. After tax is still 6 million. So even though obliteration is literally less than 40 mil, it still has a margin of 7 million, which is pretty crazy. That is the kind of stuff you want to look for now in the new meta for tax. But here are 4 quick tips that I would like to share with you. I'm definitely going to be making more videos for flipping with tax. Obviously, I make a lot of videos with flipping content. We have a Discord with 10,000 people on it for flipping content, so clearly you're going to see more flipping content. But for this video, I would really encourage you to, number one, make sure that you are updating your items pretty accurately. And what I mean by that is every single item in the game that you are flipping has an amount of time that you should wait before you update that price. That is just like, so let's say this obliteration right here just did not sell back for this price, then I would need to update this item by reducing the price down. So maybe I'd go right here, and then I simply just type in a reduced price. So let's say 44,700K, or sorry, 44,700K. And then now I'll cut off at 1 GP, and I'm gonna confirm that offer. There we go. This right here, that is what updating an item looks like. The amount you're going to update is going to vary per item. The amount of time you're going to wait before you update again is going to vary per item. We have all that information in our spreadsheets in the Discord server, so I'd really encourage you to be in there. But otherwise, you can just kind of do a lot of trial and error testing to try to find out for yourself what the best wait times and updates are. But you need to make sure you are updating and don't let things sit there for a day or two, because what could happen is if, let's say this right here, an item that's much more expensive, let's say that tomorrow these went down to 330 million. You're going to lose quite a bit of money because you're going to take the loss on the price change, but also the loss on the tax. So update. That will also keep things moving. Just go along with that too. I don't mean for you to just obsessively update. Don't update things every 5 minutes. That's also not going to be good. In general, you're looking at anywhere from 30 minutes to up to 2 hours, depending on how often the thing is traded. Lower volume things, you're going to wait longer. Next thing too, and I swear this is not really a shameless plug for our Discord server, but it's just kind of the reality of the situation now, that flipping with other people is going to be much better than flipping alone now, dramatically better. And I mean, previous to the tax, it was already better, but now it's night and day difference better. And the reason why is because, as I already showed you with how much money that you are going to be losing automatically in order to do price checks, if you are flipping with a group, then other people are price checking, you're price checking with the group, everybody's posting their buys, everybody's posting their sells. You can just use prices that are already there and completely avoid that price checking fee that you're going to be paying. It's basically a fee to price check. You can completely avoid that. You can also completely avoid accidentally instant buying something. If I went into the GE right now and I was like, okay, I'm going to flip obliterations, what if you had no idea where to start? Because if you look right here, it is 35 million on the market price. We're buying it for 38, selling it for 45. I mean, that's considerably higher than what the GE mid is. Number one, if you're doing that on your own, it's going to take you way longer to find that price. And then also too, you might overshoot it. You might be like, oh, you know what, screw it, I'm just gonna try buying it for 45. Well, there you'd end up with an instant buy, which I guess would be good for your price check. But the point is, that is going to take you a lot longer and be much more expensive to do this on your own, a lot more risk involved. So I would highly recommend using flipping groups. We have one to 10,000 people in it, like I just talked about a few times. Next thing too, alts. This is going to be even more important going into this new flipping meta. With alts, you're going to be able to really ignore the cost of price checking. I know. I keep talking about the cost of price checking, but it's a real thing. That is where most of your money losses are going to happen, because you just can't avoid this in most situations unless you're using prices that are in a group. So if I was to sit here and do a whole bunch of price checks and I'm immediately losing $1 million on this obliteration or whatever, being able to buy more than the buy limit, like more than one account's buy limit, like buying like 3 accounts buy limits or 4 account buy limits, that is going to make you significantly more money and will kind of just ignore the fact that the tax is even happening on that first purchase. So I would highly recommend you do consider using alts. If you want to know more information about when you should start an alt, you can definitely just ask me in our Discord or in the comments down below. But in general, I would make sure that you have enough gold that you are able to flip on more than one account before you start flipping on more than one account. If you can only flip enough to fill up like 6 of your slots, whatever, then all your money's gone, it's probably not a great time for you to start using an alt. You still could to get more buy limits, but overall, I'd probably wait until you can clearly use all 8 slots. Okay, the next thing is going to be recording your flips. This is very, very, very important, because especially if you're flipping on your own. If you're flipping on your own, then knowing where an item is price-wise is going to be very useful for your next buys. I don't want to have to price check obliteration every single time that I want to flip it in one day. If I already know that it's going between 38 and 45, then I can just start there on my next 4-hour limit. So because, as you probably already know, when you're flipping an item, when you buy something, that buy limit restarts every 4 hours. So 4 hours from now, I don't want to be trying to find the price of obliteration. I don't want to be trying to find the price of a seismic wand if I flipped one 12 hours ago. Just keep a record of the prices that you're paying and selling at, because that way that you will be able to use that information to make a much more educated guess as to where it currently is, and at least start there. If obliteration's buy went to 39 million after 4 or 5 hours, then that's okay, because after a couple updates, I will get to 39 million and be buying it again. But if I have to completely restart, then I'm going to be paying that tax on an instant buy, and that's not where you want to be. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close it off there, because otherwise this video is going to be just as long as the last video I made. But anyway, I really hope you guys enjoyed the content. A lot more content coming soon. Definitely more flipping content. If you guys have any more questions about this, then, just put them in the comment down below and enter our giveaway. Yeah, let's do it. Let's win some gold. Jump in there. Hit that enter button. All right, I'll see you guys next video. Have a good one.